Millionaire CEO never fell in love until he met the most unlikely intern. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's begin. The next morning, Emma couldn't get the image of Liam out of her head. She had run away so quickly, embarrassed by the mix-up, but something about him had stuck with her. She had no idea why she couldn't shake the feeling that the encounter had meant more than just a simple mistake. She was a waitress, struggling to make ends meet, and people like Liam Parker, successful, powerful, and out of her league, didn't belong in her world. She tried to forget about the night, but as she walked into her shift at the diner, she couldn't stop thinking about the genuine conversation they had shared. Emma didn't expect anything to come of it, but she couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that their paths had crossed for a reason. Meanwhile, Liam sat at his penthouse, staring out at the New York City skyline. His mind kept drifting back to Emma. He had met countless people in his life, but none of them had been like her. She was real, unpolished, and refreshingly honest, unlike the people he usually interacted with. She didn't know who he was, didn't care about his wealth or status. It was rare to find someone who didn't see him as just the CEO of a massive tech company. He had been intrigued by her warmth, her kindness. After Emma had run off the night before, Liam had thought about calling her, but he didn't know where to start. He wasn't used to pursuing someone. He had always let business come first, and relationships had always seemed like a distraction. But something about Emma had changed that. His thoughts were interrupted when his assistant, Claire, walked in with his schedule for the day. "You've got a meeting in an hour with the marketing team," Claire said, looking up from her notes. Liam nodded absently. "Cancel it," he said, his mind elsewhere. "I've got something else to take care of." Claire raised an eyebrow. "Something personal?" Liam hesitated for a moment before responding. "Yes," he said, his voice quieter than usual. "Something personal." A few hours later, Emma was taking her lunch break when her phone buzzed. It was a message from a number she didn't recognize. She opened it to find a simple text. "Hi Emma, this is Liam. I was wondering if you'd like to meet up again. I'd love to talk more. Liam Parker." She stared at the screen for a moment, unsure of how to respond. Was this really happening? She had thought about him a lot, but she never expected him to reach out. She hesitated, her mind racing with doubts. Was this a joke? Was he just being polite? Finally, she typed back, "Hi Liam, I'm surprised to hear from you." "Sure, I'd like that." "When and where?" They set a time for the next day at a cafe downtown, a neutral place. Emma couldn't help but feel nervous, even though she had already spent hours talking to him the night before. When the day came, Emma arrived early, sitting by the window and nervously playing with the edge of her napkin. She couldn't help but wonder what this meeting would be about. Was he just looking for closure after the awkward encounter? Or was this something more? As she sat waiting, Liam walked in. He looked even more handsome in casual clothes, his confident posture instantly catching her eye. He spotted her immediately and walked over with a smile. "Hi, Emma," he said, his voice warm. "I'm glad you came." Emma smiled back, trying to calm her nerves. "Of course, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I'm glad we could meet again." They sat down, and for the next hour, they talked about everything and nothing. They laughed, shared stories, and as the conversation flowed, Emma began to relax. Liam seemed just as down-to-earth as he had been the night before. Emma realized that, despite the wealth and power he had, Liam was just a person, someone who craved real connections as much as anyone else. By the time the meeting ended, Emma felt like she had known him for much longer than just a couple of days. As they stood up to leave, Liam hesitated for a moment before saying, "Really glad we met, Emma. I think there's a lot more to us than we first realized." Emma smiled softly, a little taken aback by his sincerity. "I think so too." The next few weeks passed in a blur for Emma. After her second meeting with Liam, something had changed. They started meeting more often, first for coffee, then for dinner. The awkwardness that had hung in the air between them after their first meeting slowly faded away, replaced by an easy camaraderie. Emma had begun to look forward to their time together. Liam, on the other hand, found himself anticipating their conversations more than he ever had expected. She wasn't like anyone he had met before. Sure, She was beautiful and kind, but it was more than that. It was her authenticity, her ability to see beyond the wealth and success that defined most of his life. The more they spoke, the more he realized that she made him feel something he hadn't felt in years, alive. Yet, despite the growing connection between them, Emma had her doubts. She hadn't allowed herself to fall for someone like Liam. He was a CEO, a man who lived in a world that seemed so far removed from her own. She worked long shifts at the diner, struggling to make ends meet. She didn't have the luxury of a penthouse apartment or a business empire. For her, a relationship with someone like Liam felt like a dream, one that couldn't possibly come true. But despite her reservations, she couldn't ignore the feelings that were starting to blossom inside her. There was something undeniable between them. One evening, as they were having dinner at a cozy restaurant in the city, Liam looked at Emma, his expression serious. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice low. "I don't know if it's crazy or if I'm just being impulsive, but I can't stop thinking about you, Emma. I know we've only known each other for a short time, but it feels like more than that." Emma felt her heart skip a beat. She had never seen Liam so vulnerable, so open. It took her a moment to find her voice. "Liam," she hesitated, unsure of how to respond. "I feel the same way, but I don't know if this is a good idea. We come from two different worlds, and I don't want to get hurt." Liam reached across the table and took her hand in his thumb gently brushing over her knuckles. "I understand your concerns. I don't expect you to jump into anything without thinking about it. But I promise you, Emma, I'm not like the others. I'm not just looking for a fling or something temporary. What I feel for you is real." Emma stared at their intertwined hands, her mind racing. Could this really be happening? Could someone like Liam, with his wealth and status, really feel this way about someone like her? She looked up at him, searching his face for any hint of insincerity. But all she saw was honesty, and it made her heart ache. She sighed, a soft smile tugging at her lips. "Okay," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let's see where this goes." Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up. "You won't regret it," he said, squeezing her hand. For the first time in a long while, Emma allowed herself to believe in the possibility of something more. Maybe this was the start of something real, something that could change both of their lives. Little did she know, the journey they were about to take together would not only bring them closer, but also challenge everything they thought they knew about love, trust, and the unexpected paths that life sometimes takes. As the weeks passed, Emma found herself becoming more and more comfortable with Liam. They spent their time together exploring the city, having long conversations about everything and nothing. Their connection was undeniable. However, as much as Emma wanted to embrace the possibility of a relationship, a part of her still hesitated. She couldn't help but feel like this was all too good to be true. Liam, on the other hand, was falling harder for Emma with each passing day. He had never thought he would find someone who made him feel this way, someone who was real and unafraid to be vulnerable. He admired her strength, her passion for life, and the way she saw the world. He hadn't realized how lonely he had been until she entered his life. One afternoon, Liam invited Emma to a charity gala that his company was hosting. It was a big event, filled with high-profile clients and business associates. Emma felt nervous at the thought of attending such a glamorous affair. She was just a waitress, after all. But Liam insisted that she come, telling her that she was more than welcome in his world. The night of the gala, Emma arrived at the venue, her heart racing as she walked through the grand entrance. The venue was breathtaking, with crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling and the sound of live music filling the air. She couldn't help but feel out of place as she looked around at the elegantly dressed guests, all of them seeming so polished and sophisticated. As she made her way through the crowd, Liam spotted her immediately. He was in a tailored suit, looking every bit the powerful CEO he was. But when he saw Emma, his face lit up with a genuine smile. He walked over to her, taking her hand in his. "You look stunning," he said softly, his voice filled with admiration. Emma blushed, feeling both flattered and self-conscious. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "This place is incredible." Liam chuckled, squeezing her hand. "You're more than welcome here, Emma. I want you to feel like you belong." They spent the rest of the evening talking and mingling, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't belong in this world. She kept thinking about how different her life was from the people around her. As the night went on, the event came to a close, and Liam led her out onto the balcony, away from the noise of the crowd. He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her as they looked out over the city skyline. "I know this is all a lot," he said softly, his breath warm against her ear. "But I want you to know that I care about you, Emma. I'm not here to play games. I want something real." Emma felt a rush of emotions flood through her. She had never had someone say something like that to her before. But at the same time, the fear of getting hurt held her back. "I care about you too, Liam," she said quietly. "But I'm scared. What if we're just too different?" Liam pulled back slightly, looking into her eyes. "We're different, yes. But that's what makes us work. We challenge each other. We bring out the best in each other. I believe in us, Emma." Emma's heart swelled with emotion as she gazed at him, realizing that for the first time in a long time, she had found someone who truly understood her. And maybe, just maybe, they could make it work despite their differences. But as the night wore on, she still wasn't sure if she was ready to take that leap. She needed more time. "Let's just take it one step at a time," she said softly, her voice filled with uncertainty but also hope. Liam smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "One step at a time," he agreed. They stood there in silence, the city lights shimmering around them, both wondering what the future held. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Liam's relationship continued to grow, but so did the tension between them. Emma had agreed to take things slow, but as much as she wanted to let go of her fears and dive into this connection with Liam, a part of her remained guarded. She was still unsure if she could truly fit into his world. She worked long hours at the diner, coming home exhausted, while Liam's life was filled with high-profile meetings and luxurious events. He had a lifestyle that seemed so far out of reach for someone like her. Despite his reassurances, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was just one mistake away from being rejected. One evening, Liam invited Emma to a company event he was hosting at one of the city's top venues. It was a prestigious charity auction, a huge affair attended by businessmen, celebrities, and socialites. Liam, as the CEO of his company, was the center of attention. Emma felt out of place the moment they walked into the glittering venue. The room was filled with people in expensive suits and gowns, their laughter and chatter echoing off the marble floors. Emma felt like she was the only one who didn't belong. Liam noticed her unease immediately. He squeezed her hand, offering a reassuring smile. "You look incredible," he said softly, his eyes warm. "You belong here just as much as anyone else." But Emma couldn't help but feel the weight of the difference between their worlds. As the night went on, she found herself standing at the edge of the crowd, watching Liam interact with colleagues and clients. He was the picture of confidence, effortlessly navigating through the sea of people, while she stood there, unsure of what to do or say. It was in these moments that her insecurities crept in. She felt like she was losing herself in his world, like she was becoming a shadow of the person she had once been. Later in the evening, Liam approached her, his expression serious. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern in his voice. Emma forced a smile, trying to mask the unease she was feeling. "I'm fine. Just taking it all in." Liam studied her for a moment before nodding. "Emma, I need to tell you something. I know you've been having doubts, but I want you to know that I'm not in this for the games. I care about you, and I want to build something real with you. Whatever your fears are, we'll face them together." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had never heard him speak like that before. There was no hiding behind business or status. He was being vulnerable with her. The sincerity in his voice made her heart ache. She had always been the one to hold back, to push people away before they could get too close. But something about Liam made her want to trust him. She wanted to believe in them, in the possibility of something real. "Liam," she began softly, her voice shaking slightly, "I care about you too. But I'm scared. I'm scared that I won't be enough, that I won't fit into your world." Liam's expression softened, and he reached for her hand, gently cupping it in his. "You don't have to fit into my world, Emma. You don't have to change anything about who you are. I want you, the real you, not some perfect version of yourself." Emma's eyes filled with tears as she looked up at him, realizing for the first time that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't the one standing in the way of their happiness. Maybe it was her own fears that were holding her back. "I'm scared too," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm willing to try, if you are." Liam smiled, his eyes filled with hope. "We'll figure it out together, one step at a time." And for the first time in a long while, Emma allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, their love story could be more than she ever dreamed. The evening ended on a quiet note, but as they left the venue hand in hand, Emma felt a sense of peace settle over her. She didn't have all the answers, and the road ahead was still uncertain. But for the first time, she was ready to face it, ready to face whatever came their way, with Liam by her side. In the weeks that followed, Emma and Liam began to carve out a rhythm in their relationship. They had moved past the initial doubts, the fears that had kept them both at arm's length. Emma still struggled with the differences in their lives. The life Liam led was a world she had never known, filled with luxury, power, and expectations. She was still a waitress, trying to make ends meet, but she found herself in a relationship with someone who had the kind of wealth that could change her life in an instant. But despite her hesitations, she couldn't deny how real her feelings for Liam were. He had never pressured her to change or fit into a mold that wasn't hers. He had shown her kindness, patience, and, most of all, a love that was not about status or appearances, but about something deeper. As their relationship grew stronger, Emma began to share more of herself with Liam. She opened up about her dreams of someday opening her own art studio, about her fears and insecurities, and the challenges she faced living paycheck to paycheck. To her surprise, Liam listened intently, never once making her feel small or insignificant. He supported her ambitions, telling her that he believed in her every step of the way. It was an encouragement she hadn't expected but had always longed for. One day, as they sat in a small cafe they frequented, Liam turned to her with a serious expression. "I've been thinking," he began, his voice softer than usual. "I know this might be fast, but I want you to know that I'm all in, Emma. I don't want to hold back anymore. You're the one I want, and I'm ready to take that next step with you. I want to build a future together." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had known this day would come, but hearing him say it out loud took her breath away. She felt the same way, but fear still lingered in the back of her mind. "Liam, I don't know if I'm ready for all of this," she admitted, her voice shaky. "I've never been part of your world. I don't know if I can fit in. You have so much, and I have so little." Liam reached across the table, taking her hands gently in his. "Emma, you don't have to fit into my world. I want you in my life, as you are. You don't need to change for me. I love you for who you are, not for anything you think you need to be." His words, so simple, yet so profound, filled her heart with warmth. She had spent so long feeling unworthy of someone like him. But in that moment, she realized that her fears had been keeping her from fully embracing the love they shared. It wasn't about wealth or status. It was about them, about the connection they had. She squeezed his hands, a soft smile playing on her lips. "Okay," she said quietly. "Let's do this. Let's take that next step together." As they left the cafe, hand in hand, Emma felt a sense of peace settle over her. She had been afraid for so long, but with Liam by her side, she realized that love wasn't about perfection. It was about trusting one another and building something real. She didn't know what the future would bring, but she was ready to face it with him, to take that leap of faith and see where their journey would lead. Weeks passed, and the connection between Emma and Liam continued to deepen. Yet, despite the growing affection between them, something felt off. The closer they grew, the more Emma found herself wrestling with insecurities. Liam had always been honest with her, showing nothing but sincerity and affection, but Emma's fears had been instilled in her for so long that they were hard to shake. She had never truly been part of his world, and she was starting to doubt whether she ever could be. She worked long hours at the diner, scraping by, while Liam lived a life of luxury and privilege that felt foreign to her. She had always been the one on the outside, the one who had to fight for everything she had, and she didn't know how to be a part of something that felt so far beyond her reach. Then, one evening, as they sat in Liam's penthouse, a conversation came up that Emma had been avoiding. She had been keeping her worries to herself for weeks, but tonight, the weight of them finally broke through. "Liam, I need to talk to you about something," Emma said, her voice wavering. I'm scared. I'm scared that I'm not enough for you, that I don't belong in your world. I know you keep saying it doesn't matter, but it feels like I'm always going to be the one who's out of place. You've built this incredible life for yourself, and I don't know if I can be part of it." Liam, who had been listening intently, leaned forward, his expression filled with concern. He took her hand in his. his thumb gently brushing over her skin. "Emma, listen to me," he said softly. "You are more than enough. You've been more than enough since the first time we met. I've never cared about your background or your job or how much money you make. What matters to me is you, the person you are. And if I'm being honest, I don't want anyone else but you." Emma's heart ached at his words. She had never been given this kind of love that wasn't about status or money or appearances. She had always been told that she had to be something more to be worthy of love, but Liam's love had never asked her to change. "But what if I'm just holding you back?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if I'm not enough for everything you need in your life?" Liam shook his head, his eyes never leaving hers. "You're not holding me back, Emma. You're the one who makes my life better. I've never felt more alive than I do when I'm with you. You've shown me a world I didn't even know I was missing. You don't have to change for me. I want you exactly as you are." Emma looked at him, the vulnerability in his eyes making her heart swell. She had spent so long doubting herself, but here was Liam, telling her that she didn't need to be anything more than herself. "But I'm still scared," she admitted. "Scared that I'll mess this up. Scared that I'll lose you." Liam reached up and cupped her face gently, his thumb tracing her cheek. "You don't have to be afraid of losing me. I'm not going anywhere. We'll figure this out together. I'm with you every step of the way." For the first time in a long while, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. The fear that had gripped her for so long started to loosen its hold. She didn't know what the future would hold, but she knew one thing for sure: she wasn't alone. Liam had chosen her, and he was willing to face whatever challenges came their way together. And that thought made all the difference. Emma smiled, a tear slipping down her cheek as she kissed him softly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for believing in us." Liam kissed her back, his arms wrapping around her tightly. "Always," he murmured against her lips. "Always." The weeks that followed were filled with a new sense of peace and understanding between Emma and Liam. Their relationship continued to grow, and both of them found themselves falling deeper into the connection they had built. For Emma, the fears that once gripped her heart were slowly fading, replaced by a sense of belonging she had never known. She no longer felt like an outsider in Liam's world, and slowly, she was starting to see that they could build something together, something real. Liam, too, felt the weight of his past doubts lifting. Emma had shown him what it meant to love without conditions. He no longer saw the world in terms of success and status. He saw it through her eyes, and it was a world he was eager to share with her. One evening, as they sat on the rooftop of Liam's penthouse, watching the city lights twinkle below them, Liam turned to Emma, his expression more serious than usual. "Emma," he began, his voice steady but soft, "there's something I've been thinking about. We've been through a lot together, and I know we've both had our doubts. But I'm certain of one thing, and I want to make it clear." Emma looked at him, her heart skipping a beat. "What's that?" she asked, her voice gentle. Liam took a deep breath, his eyes locking with hers. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to build a future with you, no matter what comes our way. I don't care about anything else, just you. You're the one I want." Emma's breath caught in her throat as she processed his words. She had always been afraid that love could be fleeting, that she would never be enough for someone like Liam. But here he was, telling her that she was the one, that their love was enough to overcome any challenge. Tears filled her eyes as she looked at him, her heart swelling with emotion. "Liam," she whispered, her voice shaky. I want that too. I've never felt this way before, but I want to be with you. I want to see what the future holds for us." Liam smiled, his eyes full of warmth and love. "Then let's make it happen," he said softly. Together. That night, as they held each other close on the rooftop, everything felt right. They had come so far, from their first awkward meeting to this moment of clarity and commitment. Their love had been tested, but it had only grown stronger. Emma knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. And as Liam kissed her gently under the stars, she realized that love wasn't about perfection. It was about trusting each other, about taking chances, and about building something that could last. As they pulled away from the kiss, Liam reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. He opened it to reveal a beautiful ring, its simplicity making it even more stunning. "Emma," he said, his voice filled with tenderness. "Will you marry me?" Emma's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the ring, then back at him. She had never imagined that something so perfect could be in her life. Without hesitation, she nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," she said, her heart full. "Yes, I will." The rest of the world seemed to disappear as Liam slipped the ring onto her finger, and they kissed again, this time with the promise of a lifetime together. Emma had never imagined that this would be her life, that she would find love in the most unexpected place with someone who saw her for who she truly was. But as she looked at Liam, she knew that their journey was just beginning, and she couldn't wait to see where it would take them. Months passed since Emma and Liam had made their promises to each other. They had faced their doubts, their insecurities, and the challenges that came with their very different lives. But as time went on, their bond grew stronger. The fears Emma once had about not fitting into Liam's world had all but disappeared, replaced by a deep trust and love that neither of them had anticipated when they first met. Liam had kept every promise he made to her. He never pushed her to be anything she wasn't and always made her feel valued for the person she was, not for the world she came from. Emma, in turn, had found the courage to believe in herself and the love they shared. She had let go of the self-doubt that had held her back for so long. Together, they had built something that felt solid, real, and unshakable. As the day of their wedding approached, Emma couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. She was excited, of course, but there was a small part of her that couldn't quite believe this was her life. She was marrying Liam Parker, the man who had once seemed so far out of her reach. But now, standing at the threshold of a future with him, she knew deep down that this was where she was meant to be. On the day of the wedding, the venue was nothing short of breathtaking. Liam had spared no expense, but what stood out most to Emma wasn't the luxury of the surroundings. It was the people gathered there, the friends and family who had supported them, the people who had seen them grow together. Liam, standing at the altar, looked every bit the powerful CEO he was, but to Emma, he was simply the man who loved her unconditionally. When she walked down the aisle, his eyes filled with tears as he saw her, and Emma felt her heart swell with love. It was a moment that made all the uncertainty, all the fear, fade into the background. It was a moment she had never imagined for herself. When the ceremony ended and they were pronounced husband and wife, Emma couldn't stop smiling. As Liam took her hand and they walked back down the aisle together, she realized that the love they had shared, the connection they had built, was just the beginning of something even more beautiful. They were partners, not just in love, but in life. As they celebrated their union with friends and family, Emma couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come. From the nervous, unsure woman who had first met Liam to the woman standing beside him now, full of confidence and love, it had been a journey. But it had been worth every step. Looking into Liam's eyes, she knew that the challenges they had faced and would continue to face only made them stronger. Life wasn't about wealth or status, Emma had learned. It was about the people you choose to share it with, the love you build, and the connection that keeps you grounded. And with Liam by her side, Emma knew she had everything she needed. As the night drew to a close and they shared their first dance as husband and wife, Emma felt a deep sense of gratitude. For everything she had been through, for every doubt, every fear, and every joy, they had all led her to this moment. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: they would face it together, hand in hand, ready for whatever came their way. In this heartwarming millionaire story, we follow the journey of a powerful CEO and a humble waitress who unexpectedly cross paths, leading to a love story that challenges both their fears and insecurities. As their connection deepens, they face the realities of their different worlds, learning what it truly means to trust and love each other. This millionaire story teaches us that love isn't about wealth or status, but about finding someone who accepts you for who you truly are. Through their struggles and growth, they show that love has the power to overcome even the most daunting obstacles. Their story unfolds as they learn to navigate the complexities of their different backgrounds, proving that millionaire stories can be about more than just money. It's about the heart and connection. As the couple's bond strengthens, their journey shows that true happiness comes not from wealth, but from finding someone who sees you for the person you are, no matter where you come from. The couple's eventual engagement and marriage mark the beginning of a new chapter, where they realize that the love they share is far more valuable than anything money could ever buy. This millionaire story is a beautiful reminder that no matter your background, Love can bridge any divide, and a genuine connection is the greatest treasure of all.